today I'm going to show you how to make this decadent almond croissant. Trust me when I say you are going to want to make this. It has all the components of everything that just screams deliciousness. Crunch, fluff, layers, flakes, crispiness, sweet, a little bit of salty, and it's just to die for. And it is so simple to make, I promise. Now I know you're looking at the almond croissant thinking, no way can I make that, and I'm here to assure you, you absolutely can. And the secret is store-bought puff pastry. You can find it at any grocery store in the freezer section. You literally roll it out and go. It's that simple. If you're having guests at your house for any reason at all, you need to wow them with this almond croissant. So for this recipe, you need a couple of unique things that you may not have. So just browse around in the baking aisle of your grocery store. You need almond flour, any brand is fine. You also need almond extract, comes in a little bottle, and sliced almonds. You can get slivered almonds as well. I prefer to use the toasted and sliced almonds. I love the way that they look on top of the croissant, and they're just thin enough but give me a little bit of crunch. So to just a super small mixing bowl, I'm going to make my almond filling. I'm going to add 2.5 tablespoons of softened butter, 1/2 cup of almond flour, 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of almond extract, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/8 teaspoon of table salt. Now set that to the side for just a second. We're going to make our egg wash, and this recipe, it gets a little wonky. I need 1/2 of my egg to go in the filling bowl and 1/2 of the egg to go in a little bowl to make egg wash. So this is what I'm going to do. Put my egg in a small bowl here. Just kind of whip it up with a fork and get that yolk broke up. And this does not have to be an exact measurement. You can just eyeball this. And I am just going to eyeball a 1/2 and 1/2 measurement. Whoa. Close enough. Then I want to mix up everything in my mixing bowl. And you're going to make kind of like a paste. I'm using a fork because I just find it's really easy to get that almond flour through your butter when you use a fork. And this is perfect. It doesn't have to be totally consistent. You've got chunks of butter, which actually makes it all the better. Then to our little container of egg wash, just add about a dash of milk. I'm using 1/2 and 1/2 because I don't have any regular milk, or you can add water if you want. Just to add some liquid into the egg wash and stir that around. And then you can set those both aside. So I'm using the puff pastry sheets by Pepperidge Farm. They're in your freezer section at your grocery store. There are 2 sheets of puff pastry in a box. The recipe I'm sharing with you in today's video is for using only 1 of these sheets. Double it if you like. If you have lots of guests coming over or a party, oh my goodness, absolutely wow your guest with this almond croissant. So when you decide to make this almond croissant, you do need to plan ahead just a little bit. The puff pastry needs to be taken out of the freezer and left at room temperature for about 20 to 30 minutes before you get started. Because when it's frozen, it's hard. You want it to soften up just enough that you can open up the puff pastry, but if you let it sit out too long and get warm, it's going to get mushy and really hard to work with. So lay it out on your countertop, and when you can just start to open it up, that is perfect. So I've had my puff pastry sitting out at room temperature for about 30 minutes, and it's pliable. I can open it up, which is perfect. You don't want it to get too soft. So I'm going to move that to the side and sprinkle just a little bit of flour onto this piece of parchment paper. And lay out my piece of puff pastry. Now, if you have a rolling pin, fantastic. I don't, so I'm going to use a kitchen glass. And I'm just going to roll this out until it's in a rectangle shape. It does not have to be perfect. I just want to make it a little more oblong than it is and thin it out a smidge. So just do what works for you. That's what I'm doing. So that is perfect. Then you can take a pizza cutter or a knife and you want to cut it lengthwise in half. Then on a baking sheet that you have a piece of parchment paper on, take one piece of your puff pastry, lay it down in the middle, and take half of your filling and put it on the pastry. And kind of spread this out till it's covering the pastry, but you want to leave a 1/4 inch of a border. This kind of takes some finesse. Then take your egg wash and brush it around that open 1/4 inch of puff pastry. This is going to be your glue to hold the two pieces of the pastry together so that your filling doesn't seep out the sides. Then place your other piece of puff pastry on the top and get it lined up as best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Mine is certainly not going to be, but it is going to be delicious, I promise. And then take your fingers and just press down around the edge to seal in the two pieces of pastry. Just lightly. Then we're going to take our egg wash again and we're going to brush the whole top of this piece of puff pastry. This is what's going to make it golden brown and crispy and keep the flakes within the pastry. All right. Then we're going to take the rest of our filling mixture and we're going to just dollop this across the top. And carefully, without tearing your pastry, spread this out along the top. Very similar to what we did inside, but along the top. Then we're going to generously sprinkle on several handfuls, or how much ever you like, of sliced toasted almonds. I like to get these out on the edges. Ooh, look at this. Then I'm going to place this into a preheated 375-degree oven. I'm going to bake it for 28 to 32 minutes, and I'm going to keep an eye on it. If my almonds on the top start to get a little too brown, you can just lay a little piece of aluminum foil over the top to protect the almonds, and the pastry will finish cooking. After your almond croissant's finished, you want to let it sit out for a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes, because when you take it out of the oven, it's going to be all puffed up. And I recorded this really cool time-lapse video for you so that you could see how the croissant will settle over the course of about 10 minutes. But you want it to cool down. If you bite into it right now, that filling is so incredibly hot and it's just going to mask all the flavors. So let it sit. I promise you can wait. Then when it's ready to cut, take a really big knife and just go straight down and cut it into squares. And listen to this crunch. And make sure that you sprinkle powdered sugar all over the top of your almond croissant. When I made the almond croissant, I had 2 pieces for myself. My husband said, well, just give me one. He ate one and then reached his hand back over here and got a second piece. We ate it again for breakfast the next morning, and then I finished off the last piece the following morning. We cannot keep an almond croissant in our house, but the way to store your almond croissant after you've cut it up into pieces, if you have any left, is in an airtight container. I keep mine in my cake stand over there, which shamelessly is still covered in the crumbs. Definitely eat the croissant within 2 to 3 days, because beyond that, I mean, it still tastes really great, but the fluffy, flaky, crispy layers within the croissant will start to deflate just a little bit. I told you this almond croissant is a showstopper. It is beautiful, it is absolutely delicious, and so easy to make. I promised you it would be. So after you've tried this, come back to this video and let me know in the comments what you think. I would love to hear from you. Now, I have many more cooking videos on my channel. I recently shared my mother-in-law's pineapple upside down cake that is made in a cast iron skillet. That is one not to miss. And I also have written several cookbooks that are available for digital download. All the links will be in the description box below if you want to browse around and make some more of my recipes. So I'm excited to see you back in my kitchen soon. Have a great day.